You don't need me to tell you just how amazing the fights in Naruto are. They have some of the best, if not the best, choreography in all of anime. Spectacular animation, a range of dynamic abilities that clash in interesting ways, and usually they have a lot of build-up or a compelling narrative behind them. But for a story as big as Naruto, it is very difficult to give every character the drawn-out fight scenes they deserve. Honestly, Masashi Kishimoto could create an entire miniseries centered around fights throughout the timeline that had incredible lore behind them. Fights that fans wanted to see. It would have been incredibly successful. It would have made the fans go absolutely crazy. For this video, we're going to discuss 10 of these fights and who we think would come out on top. I'm also planning a separate video for the top 10 hypothetical Naruto fights we all wanted to see. Fights that were never alluded to in the series. Fights that may not have necessarily played out in the timeline. Things like Minato versus Itachi, or Pain versus all three of the legendary Sannin. If that sounds good to you, leave your thoughts down below on what fights you most wanted to see and who you think would win those fights. And while you're down there, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And yeah, onto the video. At number 10, we have Sasuke versus Neji, the Battle of the Prodigies. Two geniuses that hail from extremely powerful and revered clans in the Hidden Leaf Village, and were exceptionally talented even when compared to other members of their respective clans. During the Chunin exams, this fight was alluded to multiple times as Sasuke and Neji seemed to take an interest in battling one another. Neji completely outclasses Sasuke during the early stages of the Chunin exams, and Sasuke completely eclipses Neji once we get into Shippuden. But there is a sweet spot during the final stage of the Chunin exams where I think they were relatively close in ability and have honed their skills to a degree where a battle between them would be extremely close. After his training with Kakashi, Sasuke at this point has increased his speed, has better proficiency with his Sharingan, and has mastered the Chidori, which would make this a much closer fight. Personally, I think Neji still has a slight edge here, but Sasuke does have an ace up his sleeve, and that's the curse mark. If Sasuke were to activate it, I think he'd have the advantage. But what do you guys think? Who would win if Sasuke and Neji fought each other at this stage in the Chunin exams? I actually think this would have been the most hype fight in part 1, outside of Naruto versus Sasuke, of course, as we get to see the Sharingan versus the Byakugan, before the Sharingan completely went on to outclass it. This type of fight is all about creating an opening because whoever lands their strongest technique first, whether it's the Chidori or the 8 trigrams, 64 palms, will probably win this fight. And with Sasuke's speed and fire style, as well as Neji's rotation and mastery of the gentle fist, it's fun to speculate who would be able to create that opening first. Coming in at number 9 is Kakashi versus Kabuto. Now this fight could have been very interesting. We've had multiple characters from Orochimaru to Jiraiya mention that Kabuto is roughly around Kakashi's level, or could go toe-to-toe with him. They also had two very intense interactions, the first being in Sasuke's hospital room, where Kakashi forced Kabuto to flee with the dead soul jutsu after cornering him. The second was following Orochimaru's Konoha Crush attempt when Kakashi deduced that one of the disguised Anbu members was in fact Kabuto. I think a fight between these two will be incredibly fun to watch because they're very tactical and precise when it comes to taking down their opponent. I also would have loved seeing Kakashi put hands on Kabuto after he taunted him for not having yet mastered the Sharingan. The look he gave him was downright menacing. And after Kakashi openly admitted that he needed to improve if people as skilled as Kabuto were working for Orochimaru, I think this battle will be a lot closer than people think. Still, I would give the edge to Kakashi here. I'm sorry, but I just can't imagine a scenario in part 1 or early Shippuden where Kakashi would outright lose to Kabuto. But let me know what you guys think down below. For number 8, I'm going with Sasori versus the 3rd Kazekage. Now the reason this is so high is because I'm incredibly biased. Sasori is my second favorite Akatsuki member, only behind Itachi. I love his nickname Sasori of the Red Sand, and the revelation that he killed the 3rd Kazekage and turned him into a puppet was one of the craziest and darkest moments in Naruto history. And it really hyped up the Akatsuki as actual Kage killers. And after Itachi massacred the Uchiha clan, it made me believe everybody in the Akatsuki had to do the most horrific, unthinkable thing imaginable to their village to become a member. Now, most people believe that Sasori defeated the 3rd Kazekage by poisoning him with something he was not immune to. After all, it only takes a single scratch. And I tend to agree with this theory, but there are a lot of details that needed to be filled in here. Was Sasori actually stronger than the 3rd Kazekage, or did he need the poison to get an advantage and take the victory here like many of us suspect? Was the third Kazekage caught off guard, or was it a fair fight from the beginning? And if there was an extended battle between the two, when and how did Sasori manage to poison him? As you can probably tell, I'm very interested in every minute detail of this fight that we never got to see. But onto our next entry on the list, number 7 is going to Mu versus Gengetsu. Now this will be a fun battle to watch. Mu is the second Tsuchikage who has particle style and can fly just like Aniki, and Gengetsu is the second Mizukage who has all the Hozuki clan's water techniques and can cast powerful illusions with his clam summoning. These two made quite an impression during the war arc and had very unique techniques. Their personalities were also fun, especially Gengetsu, who definitely got a few laughs during his battle against the Shinobi Alliance. The history between these two is crazy because they actually ended up killing each other in the First Great Ninja War. It isn't every day that we see two Kage-level fighters who are roughly equal in strength battle each other to the death, so this will be a very fun battle to watch play out, especially with their personalities and specialties being so vastly different. This was probably a top-tier Naruto fight that would have made fans very happy to see. For number 6, I'm going with Minato versus A and B. Now we saw a little bit of their fight during a flashback, but it wasn't nearly enough. And when A confronted Naruto during the war arc, he mentioned that he and Minato clashed many times during the Third Great Ninja War. Now I'm not sure how many of those clashes included Killer B following this particular instance, but it was an incredibly cool moment in the series to see the two fastest shinobi in the verse at the time battle each other. And with Killer B as backup, this definitely wouldn't have been a walk in the park for Minato. Also, credit to A because you don't hear too many people living to fight Minato multiple times. It's my belief that Minato outclassed him during every encounter, so he brought B in this instance as backup to try and even the odds. And the fact that B could pull off a partial transformation with the Eight Tails at this point proves that he has great mastery over its power during their confrontation. An extended fight scene with great animation probably would have been one of the best Naruto fights of all time. But I may be a little biased because I love speed-type characters in anime, but let me know what you guys think. Who would win this fight, Minato or the AB duo? Kicking off the top 5 is Jiraiya versus Orochimaru. Now the only reason this is not higher on the list is because technically we did see them fight during the Search for Tsunade arc. However, during that fight they were both battling with a small fraction of their power, given Orochimaru's arms were sealed and Jiraiya had been heavily drugged. Still, despite the handicap, what we got was pretty cool, but I can't help but imagine the scale of their battle if they both fought at their full power. They're both pretty relative in terms of power, but it's all going to come down to if Jiraiya has a jutsu that can put Orochimaru down for good, which we all know is very hard to do. Can you imagine a Sage Mode Jiraiya taking on Orochimaru and his 8-headed Hydra technique? The scale of that battle would be absolutely insane, and if Orochimaru breaks out of the reanimation jutsu, the scale would only get larger. If I had to put money down on this fight, I would go with Orochimaru because of the reanimation jutsu. It's just an incredibly broken ability, but I do think Jiraiya can pull out a dub here, just not the majority of the time. Out of 10, I'd probably give Jiraiya a win 3 or 4 times out of 10. But what do you guys think? I'm giving the number 4 spot to Madara versus Ten Tails Obito. In a timeline where Naruto and the Shinobi Alliance failed to extract the 10 Tails from Obito, this could have been a reality. Now, this version of Obito in terms of raw power is leagues ahead of Edo Madara. Just by looking at him, Hashirama admitted he was stronger, and both Tobirama and Hiruzen agreed. I think what would give Madara a slight chance here is his understanding of the Ten Tails Jinchuriki's strengths and weaknesses. I'm sure he has acquired knowledge on what Obito is capable of in this form and is aware that Sage Jutsu is a massive weakness for him. All Madara has to do is collect Sage Jutsu Chakra from Hashirama like he did in the War Arc, and suddenly his chances of winning are no longer 0. And what would make this fight so fun to see is that Madara would actually struggle, which we rarely, if ever, see. It isn't often that you see Madara put his all into a fight and give it everything he's got. And up against an opponent as powerful as this version of Obito, easily the most powerful opponent he's faced up until that point, you're bound to see him unleash a level of raw carnage that you've never seen before. I can definitely see Madara playing mind games with Obito here and revealing that he was the one who orchestrated Ren's death, or at least the events that led to Ren's death. That would drive Obito absolutely mad and potentially weaken his mental state and control over the Ten Tails. Either way, this would have been a very interesting fight to see take place. My gut is telling me to go with Obito for obvious reasons, but I wouldn't be surprised if Madara pulled off the nigh impossible here. He's just the definition of him. But what do you guys think? Who would win this fight? And what percentage would you give Madara of taking the victory here? The first spot in our top 3 is Hanzo versus the Sannin. Hanzo the Salamander is a revered name among the shinobi world. As the leader of the Hidden Rain Village, he was incredibly powerful, even managing to defeat an entire platoon of Leaf Shinobi with only Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru left barely standing. After being impressed that they survived his onslaught, and even managed to drive him into a corner, Hanzo decided to let them live and christened them the Hidden Leaf Sannin out of respect for their abilities. Now, I don't know anyone who wouldn't want to see the Sannin fight together as a team, even if it wasn't in their prime. They're incredibly powerful by themselves, but together, it could be absolutely breathtaking what they're able to accomplish on the battlefield. I know we've seen some short scenes from this fight, but not nearly enough. As a bonus, I'd also like to see Hanzo's fight against Pain. I know Hanzo is nowhere near his peak during this battle, but part of me would still like to see a little bit more than what we got during the flashback. I just know Pain pulled up on him in the most disrespectful way imaginable. Our number 2 spot is going to Jiraiya versus Itachi. Now, this is a battle I think everyone wanted to see play out when Itachi returned to the Leaf Village. Naruto fans have been torn on who they think would come out on top, with a general sway, from what I can see, leaning towards Itachi because of just how insane his feats are in the series, particularly against Orochimaru, another member of the Sannin. But there are also a lot of people who are confident that Jiraiya would take this. His Sage Mode is no joke, and he has really good counters to the Susanoo, particularly with his Dark Swamp Jutsu, which can immobilize Itachi from underneath where he is less protected, and the Frog Sound-based Genjutsu he used to trap Pain, which can penetrate the Susanoo. So I wouldn't count Jiraiya out here. These are 2 of the greatest and most balanced shinobi in the Naruto series, and both of them are tied with the highest overall scores in the official Naruto data book. Part of me really wonders if Itachi wasn't actually bluffing to Kisame when he said that if he came to blows with Jiraiya, they would both be killed. And if they each go into battle with knowledge of the other's abilities, I think that would make things even more fascinating. In that scenario, I can see them both being pretty evenly matched. But I leave it up to you guys. Who do you think would win this matchup? I do want to throw in Kisame here as a bonus because I feel like power scaling him has been difficult for the Naruto community because he had relatively few feats in part 1 and shockingly impressive feats in Shippuden. There are some people that believe he would get absolutely demolished by any of the Sannin, while others claim he's on their level or potentially even stronger. I rarely hear people point out the very real possibility that Kisame got a massive power boost over the time skip and throughout the course of Shippuden, and that's what's probably making the power scaling for him so difficult. For instance, Kisame very likely got a massive power boost following his battle with Roshi and the Four-Tailed Son Goku. Whenever Kisame faces powerful opponents, he grows stronger in direct proportion as a result of absorbing their chakra. So while his instincts were probably correct that Jiraiya would stomp him in part 1, part 2 Kisame would probably be a bit more confident. He's a different beast entirely and would probably give him a lot more trouble. I still think Jiraiya takes the win here though, but what do you guys think? And the number 1 spot goes to Itachi versus Tobi, aka Obito. Following Sasuke's battle with Itachi, it's revealed that Itachi was a spy within the Akatsuki and that he had taken measures to kill Tobi if he had ever approached Sasuke. It's clear from the beginning that the 2 respected each other's power and were incredibly wary of each other for years. And while the 2 had an agreement that mutually benefited each other, things really could have popped off at any moment between these 2. Itachi is one of those rare few shinobi in Naruto who embody the true essence of genius, ability, and talent. It's a lethal combination that makes him a dangerous opponent regardless of who is facing him. With so many one-shot moves that can end the fight in an instant, and the battle IQ to pull them off effectively in battle, more often than not, you would be crazy to count Itachi out here. The only problem is his stamina. In a prolonged battle against Obito, who has the Kamui and Hashirama cells amping him up, Itachi's chances of winning decrease by every second the battle drags on. But if Itachi can figure out how Kamui works and how to counter it early enough in the fight, I genuinely think this fight could be much closer than you think. Still, Obito has the overwhelming advantage here. Even if Itachi manages to land a killing blow on him, you have to remember that he also has the Izanagi. In some ways, Obito is harder to put down than Orochimaru, and that's a major problem for Itachi, who needs this fight to end quickly. Regardless, this would have been an incredible fight to see go down. And when your opponent is Itachi of all people, your chances of winning are never 100%. But what do you guys think? Who would win this fight in your opinion? And how much would the outcome change if Itachi knew Obito had the Izanagi and how to counter Kamui before going into the fight? I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. But that does it for this video. That's my top 10. What Naruto fight did you want to see fully take place? Who do you think would come out on top of most of these matchups? Leave your comments down below. Also, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.